Well, we are starting, even though we did not start the show right with the map. I think we'll get to that. We'll get to what's going on. I have made a bunch of changes again, as I tend to do, and that usually causes some problems, as it turns out. So, what I do want to do is figure out how I'm going to do this show without the chat in the way that I thought it was going to work. I think what's happening is I think I ran out of API credits in Google because they are very strict about API limits. And I think I burned through all my credits yesterday because of a change I didn't realize. So, how is this? Is that working now? Okay, we're gonna find out. So the map, what I was trying to do was I was trying to combine all of my graphics into a single browser source. So I've got everything from, I've got, the map, which is using all the same CSS and JavaScript as the chat plugin. And but I had copied it over into the map project, and then I have the actual browser chat plugin, the Chrome extension that you can go and download to do chat on your own streams, and that I usually share into the Chromecast. And then I've got the confetti. That's a third one, which I had rigged up to do to run automatically on a super chat, and that was super cool, working really well, and that was a third source. So then I've got, okay, it looks like it is pulling them in now. I don't know why that was. Yeah, okay, good. So that means it wasn't just API credits. This is curious. This is very curious. So anyway, I've got those three sources, and then I've been just slowly adding in more and more stuff. Eventually, I want to move the actual countdown timer. Oh my gosh. That was the super chat sound. Thank you. Let me see if I can rerun that. There we go. Okay. So things are working. That's good. I don't know what happened in that case. So we'll try to dig into that. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I'm glad you helped me test that to make sure it was working. Also, the sound worked. I think you heard that. I certainly heard it. So what's going on is I've created a web page for handling all of the graphics across everything. And I can show you kind of what that looks like. On my end, it looks like, cross your fingers that when I push this button, it's going to do the right thing, is the way things are going this morning. Okay, that worked. This is my computer screen. This is my new dashboard that I'm creating for myself. And it's what I've done is I've split it out so that if you say my name or question, it'll pull it into this right column. And then the left column is the full chat. And this is not, this is actually using the Google API to pull in the chat, the same way that John's here to record graphics works. And that way I can actually do things like store it myself. I can make sure I get all the data in the right format. I don't have to sort of scrape it off of the screen the way the chat extension works. So then this is my admin console. The end result of this is it pushes into a web page that is then keyed over my video. So the web page looks like this, which has the map, which was not working at the beginning, but I've got all these buttons. Let me see if I can make this side by side. So if I run hide map, for example, it'll hide it over in that window, right? And then if I do my test message, it'll show up in that window. But you can see it's also keyed out over the stream because I've actually brought it into the ATEM. and I'll get to that one in a second. But basically what this does is it gives me more ways to filter and manage this stuff. And then this browser window is the one that is also playing the sound of the cheers, or I can add other sound effects now too, which is kind of fun. So the okay, so I have to get this into the ATEM, right? What I had been doing previously with the confetti was literally opening up this browser window, putting it on my second monitor, and then full screening it, and it was one of the inputs into the ATEM. So I've got my, let me get rid of the hide message. So I've got my camera, the other camera, which I'm probably not going to use today. This is the screen, so I can show you what's on my computer screen, but that's my second monitor. So I can just literally drag this over to that second monitor and then full screen it and key it, right? That's cool, but I don't want to eat up 3 different of these things for all the different layers. So I've been trying to combine them all. And that's why I've been trying to combine everything into one browser window, and that is what is on this tab now. So if I do my test message again, you'll see it in this window. And the way that works is I've actually got OBS now. OBS is on my computer. Go back to my computer view. OBS is here with the browser source of that tab. So it's just full screen browser source. And the reason I'm using OBS for this, which I normally wouldn't, is because OBS can actually output via decklink. So I can say output the OBS program to my Ultra Studio Monitor 3G, which is an SDI device. And that way I can run it directly into the matrix, into the ATEM. Although I think I might actually be doing that over HDMI directly into the ATEM. Doesn't matter. Point is, Ultra Studio gives me a clean feed without eating up a monitor from my computer into the ATEM. So that's the flow of my new graphics. And what I can do is I've got these buttons for like hide message. I can say I can click on these still and they will pop up. And then I've got my test messages, show hide map. The chat was originally not being pulled in for some reason. I actually don't know why the chat wasn't being pulled into this at the beginning of the stream, and that's why the map wasn't working. So this relies on the API needing to, my code has to go and actually pull the API to actually run and grab the chat into the database so that it shows up in this interface. So I'm doing a lot of this now, like in kind of a complicated way. And unfortunately, it's not something that's easily replicable to other people. So that's kind of the downside of what I'm doing. I don't expect anybody else to be able to I'm not setting this up so I can teach other people to do this in particular. But what I am doing is demonstrating browser sources at least. And I've been enjoying the experiment and the new possibilities of using browser sources in this kind of workflow. So depending on a computer, the world has changed. So I do want to point out that I have always depended on a computer for the chat, obviously, because it's coming from a computer. I don't really have a way without a computer to do that. The difference here is that I'm not running my video stream through OBS, right? So OBS only has the browser source capture output over decklink, because what that does is it means I'm not running, high bandwidth video signals or multiple cameras through the computer, which is where I don't like doing it. And I don't mind using a computer for particular purposes, for particular tasks, especially because if the computer crashed right now, again, I would still be on the air. I would lose my chat messages, but I would still be on the air. That's my threshold for that. So okay, let me see if is this chat, the chat is working. Okay. And then what I was doing right before is I was scrambling to try to recover my my other chat window, which I'm also changing up, and got some fun updates there to show you as well around the idea of browser sources. So let me take some questions, and then I'll show you that part. I want to see what people are saying in here. If you do, reminder, if you do have a question, mention my name or Q or question, and it'll show up in my right column of this little interface, so I can pull out those. So, okay, I think, apparently I need to add a feature to my little interface showing me when I start a new stream. Some of these are from last week's stream. Yes, okay. Last week you mentioned in passing that you were using something different for chat, saying you'd say more later. Is it late enough now? Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, is I am not using my browser extension right now. This is actually that new web interface that I'm working on just for me, but it's still the same sort of concept underneath. So like, it is still a browser rendering this, and I can now just push stuff to that browser remotely. Problems are great when you fix them. We all learn. It will be, if I could figure out why it got fixed, I would be a lot happier right now. Yeah, condensing everything to a single browser. The super chat animation was delayed, yes, because I had switched off of it because I was trying to frantically bring in an alternate backup plan of my chat. So that was my fault. And good, I adjusted the audio to be hopefully not deafening when that plays. I think you need to be able to have a super source inside a super source. I'm pretty sure you can do that with the larger ATEMs, although I haven't actually played with one. How did you soundproof your studio? Good question. You can see those are part of it. Those are the little relatively inexpensive 1 foot squares of foam, and I bought poster board, or not poster board. It's what's it called? It's like corrugated plastic. So you can get those in 2 feet by 3 feet, and I chopped 1 foot off to make 2 by 2 squares. And those are all over the place, all over the walls. I'm not a huge fan of it. I rotated them to kind of match the angled theme of the rest of the studio, but I'm not a huge fan. I did it because I bought those before I had the theme, the color scheme planned for this, and like the design planned for the studio. And then I had a whole bunch of it, and I was like, well, I'm not going to just get rid of it. So those are up there. They do work. I've got some other hexagon-shaped foam little panels, and those are in that corner over there. I would say the main thing that's doing most of the soundproofing work is the rug I got, because the floor is hardwood, well, fake wood, and it's just a hard surface, so the rug does a huge amount of work. It's also not perfect. I can still hear a bit of echoing bouncing around, but it is a lot better than it was when I started this project. All right. Do you use the Stream Deck to trigger macros on the Mini Extreme ISO? I absolutely do. It's my favorite way to run macros on the ISO. Even though there are those 6 macro buttons on the Extreme model, I've just gotten used to not having those buttons, so I've switched into running everything off of the Stream Deck. Yep. Is that why we have not heard the garbage truck lately? No, it's because apparently the garbage pickup is on Tuesday, which is when I had my live streams before, and then I moved it to Sunday a while ago. So they just don't do pickup on Sunday mornings, I guess. Your 6K Blackmagic is connected to your video hub back into your ATEM. Does the camera control in the ATEM Extreme still work? You can make it work. However, it isn't really a fun experience. So the reason is because so you get the little bidirectional converters. I don't have one here. If you get the bidirectional converters, they've got HDMI, 2 HDMI, 2 SDI. So you can use that to run an SDI cable to the camera, but it's HDMI on both sides, right? So you need 2 of them. So if you take, I have a thing for this. Let me just draw this because I can do that now. let me draw. There we go. Yes, okay. So if you take your, where's this going to show up? I don't have a monitor on it, but right side of the screen. So if you take your, I'll just draw it top down. This is your ATEM. And then you do HDMI into the converter. So that's HDMI, one cable into the converter. Then you have to run two SDI into the other converter. And then you run one HDMI into the Pocket camera. 6K, 4K, whatever. So that's HDMI again, right? So this works, and I have tested that, it's fine. To make this work with the Matrix, you can also do it. But what you have to do then is you take that link out, and instead you put in, let's make the Matrix over here. You can probably see where I'm going with this. You have to put two inputs and then take two of your outputs and go like that. And then switch them both. So it does work, but it takes up four of your ports on the Matrix. And mine is a 20 input, so then I end up with only 16 left. So I don't have it set up that way because I didn't want to eat up that many of my inputs just to run one camera into the ATEM. So I just don't use the camera control from the ATEM to control the camera. I just use the Bluetooth app from a phone. So hopefully that answers that. And of course, how are you able to draw on the screen? I can show you that. It's not as complicated as you might think. Let's hide that. So let me show you the desk. I have an iPad here, and it does not need to be plugged in. It's just plugged in for power. It is an iPad, and I have an app here. Oh, I should drop a link into the chat so that I can get the bookmark for it. So let me find that before I start this. Here we go. Where is my chat? So, Procreate. This is the app on the iPad that I'm using for drawing on the screen. So if I show you my desk, here's my iPad running Procreate, and it is airplaying the screen. I don't know what that was. That was the wrong button. Undo, please. It is airplaying the screen into, where is it? There it is, into my Apple TV. So screen mirroring into the Apple TV, and the Apple TV is connected into input 7 there. So the reason I use Procreate is because there's a special mode in here called, where is it? Project Canvas. I don't think it's going to focus on that, but there's an option in here called Project Canvas, which basically means that instead of showing the, so if I turn that off, you'll see this changes to show the full interface, right? You can see all the little tools and stuff. You can see the brush tools. I don't want that on the stream. Instead, I want just the canvas. And now it's showing you only the actual artwork layer. So then that's just brought into the ATEM over the Apple TV. Then I can just key it over the video. So if I go into my, I made a button for it, right? So I can say iPad overlay, and then it keys it over the video. And that's just using the upstream key. There it is, yeah. Upstream key 1 to grab that input 7, do a Luma key on it. It actually does pre-multiplied because I find that gets you actually a better result with the nice soft edges at the expense of colors acting weird. So if I go and like try to draw pink over here, it's gonna be like see-through pink, right? Because it's doing the pre-multiplied. If I turn that off, you'll see you get the solid pink, but then you got the little bad edges. And you can only kind of compensate for it so much with the keying tools because it's a Luma key. And I don't have like a proper key fill. So instead I use pre-multiplied, and then I just don't draw colors unless it's for, unless I don't mind that it's kind of translucent. But if you're drawing full white, then it ends up being solid, and you get the nice edges too. So that's pretty fun. I like that workflow, and I have been enjoying being able to draw stuff on top of me. Okay, let me take a look at the question. It would only take 2 inputs and 2 outputs on the matrix. I think that's what I said. Right? 2 inputs, 2 outputs, which is 4 ports. Oh, right. Sorry. So I don't lose 20. I don't go from 20 to 16. I go from 20 to 18 inputs and outputs. That's what you meant. Yes. Is there a way to see what you are drawing on? Send the program out to iPad? No. The way that I've set it up, it does not work that way. It is not... This app is just a drawing app. It's not meant for, you know, graphics over a screen, but I'm using it that way. So it doesn't have any tools to like bring video back in. It would be cool to do that, but that's a lot more complicated. There's like, you could do it with a Wacom tablet, because they make one that is a screen, and then you could bring in your program out from the ATEM into the tablet and show the program that way. But then you have to use computer software to draw and then figure out how to output that over the DeckLink card or HDMI or something. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I figure out a workflow for that or get a tablet, because I don't even have the Wacom tablet. Can you do the same with the iPad over HDMI? Yeah, you can. It doesn't have to be AirPlay. Same. It works exactly the same. All these apps, the apps don't even really know whether it's AirPlay or HDMI. They just output to like the external display, and the iPad takes care of it. You could use a SDI-based Blackmagic camera and be able to control it, or would that be the same 4 ports issue? That would be the same issue, because it's not, because SDI is one way. So you have to run the cable back for the control commands. So you would still end up using 4 of the ports on the back of the matrix for an SDI camera. It's just that you have to use, in this workflow, with this, you have to have this converter to switch back to HDMI to the camera end. You wouldn't have that if your camera was SDI, but everything else will be the same. Okay. So what else we got here? Scrolling back up, this is a lot easier for me to see the questions now that they're grouped. Again, oh, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So, oh yeah, this is one thing that I've noticed. The speed of the falling confetti is a lot slower in when it's being captured by OBS and output over DeckLink compared to when it's on my computer monitor. So that is something I'm not a huge fan of, but it's okay. It's okay. OBS has a whiteboard plugin you can use with a touchscreen monitor or a Surface to do the same. Oh, that is good to know. I might have to give that a shot then, because I could see doing that with the tablet if OBS has the whiteboard monitor, because then OBS again can output over DeckLink, and I'm not a big fan of taking up my monitor outputs for many reasons, one of which being that the Mac can only have 2 external monitors, which is extremely frustrating, but it can have Ultra Studios. So, okay, wait, there was a question I was looking at. Yes, okay, from Kyle. Is the Sony a6400 or Panasonic G7 a better upgrade if mainly just using it for streaming? They're both really good cameras, and They're both not terribly expensive. The 6400 has gone down, I think, now that they have some newer ones. I use both of them myself. Actually, exactly those models. The G7 is this camera, and the 6400 is my overhead camera on the table. And in both cases, I'm using the dummy battery insert, not powered over USB or anything. It doesn't work over USB, but it does power it fine using the dummy battery 24/7. Like, I literally leave both cameras on all the time. I am really bad about turning off my gear when it's not in use, just because I'm here so much. So they're both on all the time. They've been on for months, and they both have been rock solid. So the main difference, I will say, between the two is the autofocus. The Lumix cameras do not have great autofocus. They are not known for their ability to do autofocus. Sony, on the other hand, has very good autofocus. So if that's something that you need, I would go with the 6400. If it is a fixed camera like this one that's always in the same spot and I'm always in the same spot, I really don't need autofocus. And in fact, autofocus would probably be bad because the background would kind of be pulsing all the time as it's continually adjusting. With the overhead camera, I do have autofocus on because sometimes I want it to be looking at the table and sometimes I want to hold something up to give you a close-up shot. And you may have noticed, I think this happened last week, I wasn't looking closely, and there was a part where I was showing off the iPad app, but it had focus on the top of my hand instead. So it was out of focus, which is the downside of autofocus. But that's the main difference between the two cameras, and I would definitely consider whether you need autofocus. If so, then get the Sony. The other factor is lenses. They are different lens systems. So if you already have any existing lenses for Micro Four Thirds or for the Sony systems, then it probably makes sense to keep in that same system, so you don't end up duplicating all of your lenses. And that's something that I got that camera when I was kind of experimenting with the Sony line, and I ended up sticking with the Lumix line for most of my other cameras. So that's kind of my annoying thing that doesn't match the rest of the gear. So I've got like 2 lenses for it, and I'm not collecting Sony lenses, whereas I do have a whole bunch of Lumix lenses. So that's the other thing to keep in mind there. Okay, I am scrolling back up, taking some of these other questions from earlier. My ATEM Pro locks up when trying to stream to YouTube and the off-air button doesn't respond. I have to unplug the ATEM to regain control. Any idea what's going on? No idea. Check your network settings to make sure that your ATEM is actually on the network. But if it's locking up, that is 100% a bug, and Blackmagic should fix it. So best thing you can do is email support and tell them what's going on. And they will either let you send it back in to get it fixed or get a new one, or they will at the very least be able to log it as a bug, because it should never lock up. Like it at the very least, if there's something wrong on your end, it should be telling you like, oh, there's no data connection, I can't stream, but it should never actually lock up. Have you seen EEVblog's teardown at the Extreme? I did. It was fascinating, and I learned some very interesting things from it. Let me see if I can find that just to drop the link in here. Did I bookmark it? Nope. Okay, 3 days ago. So this is the link. Where's my chat? Teardown. So yeah, this is a fascinating video, and I really appreciate when people who know what they're talking about actually go and open up these machines, because I would not really learn anything because I do not do electrical engineering. So I would really just risk breaking it myself. So I'm glad other people are doing this. The fascinating thing that I think is that the board itself is relatively small. That is the entire board, basically. The top one is the control board. And it is relatively small. There's 2 main chips doing most of the work. Seems to be split 50-50 with the number of keyers and video processors and stuff. And what this tells me is that there is a lot of opportunity for putting the guts of the Extreme into many different form factors. So it is very easy to imagine turning that into a rack mount device, for example. You would basically just not have any of the stuff on the top dealing with button presses, throw that into a little rack cage, and it would work. They almost need to do nothing else, right? Now, whether they're going to do HDMI in a rack device is a different story, but I think it's promising that there is so much opportunity for putting this into different form factors with or without buttons, just because of how small the circuits are. There's not a lot there. It's kind of great. So I'm very excited to see what we get soon from Blackmagic. That teardown was scary. Yeah, it was, because yeah, anytime you're opening that stuff up, like, hopefully you can get it back together, and hopefully you know what you're doing. Rack mount, yes, I agree. That would be, yeah, very cool. I think a lot of people would appreciate that. Speaking of rack mount, there's a... Do I have the link to that? Where is that link? I need to find this because I do have an update for the... I do have an update about the rack mount stand. If I can just find it. Give me a second here. I totally forgot to grab this ahead of time. The gosh. Okay. If anybody has ever sent me an email, I am sorry for not responding, because my email is just a complete disaster. There it is. So, oh, geez, he didn't send me the link. Okay. There is, I found it at some point. It is, the reason I'm looking for this is because the rack mount is available now. You can actually go and buy it. So there it is. Okay. And is it going to load? I thought I saw this. Yes. Okay, here it is. He's got a few different versions of it. So let me go and drop that link into the chat first. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that window. I don't need that one anymore. Rack ATEM case. So yeah, this is the one that I was advising him on some design tips for this, and he's got a few different versions of the rack case. So this is pretty cool. This one is, can I make this bigger? It's got room for the Extreme here, and then it has these little pull-out drawers for a Stream Deck, or what's the other one for? Stream Deck and I forget what the other one's for. Anyway, there's that one for, and then inside you've got like a bunch of different brackets for things. Let's see, he's got the inside picture here too. So inside you can fit converters, SDI converters, and you can fit Raspberry Pi in there as well. And this part pulls out, right? So you can see that the ATEM Extreme actually pulls out from the rack. So that is pretty cool. And then he's got one for the Mini and Stream Deck as well. And in this one, the Stream Deck sits off to the side. So yeah, pretty cool. I'm a fan. I haven't actually, I don't actually have one yet. I haven't actually got a chance to play with one for reals, but that is, hopefully I will. Hopefully I get to try that out. But yeah, pretty cool. So that is the situation on the rack. The rack one, coffee and cake holder. That is probably it. So, okay. Any news on the deck saver for the ATEM Extreme? Yes, it is launching very, very soon. I have one, and I have it here. It's in the back there somewhere. But yeah, it's launching very soon. I will make sure I mention it on the stream when it is launched. Philip says, I've had my ATEM Mini Pro freeze lockup before as well when streaming. Luckily, it's only happened very rarely. So far, no bug fix from Blackmagic. That's too bad. Yeah, I've heard a couple of reports of people's ATEMs Extremes usually crashing, completely crashing, which is not good. Hopefully they can fix that problem. So thankfully that hasn't happened to me yet for some reason. Kyle, oh, thanks. Oh, about the cameras, yes. Thank you. Online piano lessons. Perfect. Glad I could help. Choose a camera. Okay, scrolling back up here too. Yeah, that was the rack case. When can we buy shirts with I'm not Aaron, but I'm gonna have to figure out my merch plan. What about tally lights on the Extreme Pro ISO? There's nothing special about the Extreme or the Pro. Like all ATEMs use the same system for tally lights. You will need that return. If you're talking about tally lights in cameras, you need that return feed. So the Blackmagic cameras, they have a tally light on them. It needs the return feed. So if you're doing HDMI directly into it, it just magically works. There's nothing you need to do. But if you are running SDI or any other form of extension, you'll have to make sure that it does pass that return signal. With so much remote control of devices happening, when do you think Blackmagic will release a headless ATEM Mini range? I know. I suspect they won't, because I think the ATEM Mini is targeted at home and, you know, home office and kind of prosumer market, where headless, they have the headless range. It's all the Rackmount stuff, and that's their pro stuff, because that is, it makes more sense when you're doing pro workflows. You want to just shove all your stuff in a rack somewhere and you know, remote control it. I don't think that use case maps well to the target market for the Mini line. That is just my feelings on it. I very well could be wrong, but also we have 5 ATEM Mini models right now, and I think they're overdue for launching some of the higher end products. So I don't think we're going to see any more Mini updates for a while. I would at least like them to fix any existing bugs in the Minis before they start launching new stuff. If I'm running an ATEM Extreme ISO, is there any advantage to also using a Rodecaster? Yeah, I would say. Using an external mixer for audio gives you physical control for that audio. The mixer inside the ATEMs is good. The ATEM Minis is good, and you can do a lot of stuff, like you have the compressor and EQ adjustments. You even have an audio delay built in for the 2 analog inputs. But you do have to use software control or create your own buttons in Companion or something like that. The Rodecaster can do more things, like you've got the soundboard built in, so you can make sound effects. I've been building in the soundboard into my own web interface, which is not the easiest way to do it by any means, but it has been fun. And that's how you're hearing the cheers. But using a Rodecaster, you get, you know, physical control surface for all of that audio managing. Plus, the Rodecaster will do fancier things like mixes if you're trying to bring in guests or connected to your computer, where the ATEM Mini does not. So definitely some good things you can do with the Rodecaster or any external mixer. What is headless? Sorry, yeah. So headless ATEM Mini just means you don't have any interface on it. So no buttons, no monitor, you know, it's just the inputs and outputs. And then you would be remote controlling everything. And at this point, most of what I'm doing, except for literally this button, because it's right here, but most of what I'm doing is using buttons on this to control this, because I can control this as well as other things in my rack at the same time when I make companion buttons. So, and I do have a button here to switch back to the main camera or the wide camera, but because I'm right here, this is often easier for me to just hit this. So if I'm over at the table, for example, I will use the Stream Deck web page on an iPad to press these buttons to switch cameras. And there's you get a lot more power being able to you know, using these buttons, because you can do things like one button can switch a camera, but also run a macro, or also run 5 different actions on one or more devices. Whereas if I wanted to, you know, switch to this audio source and that audio source at the same time, you have to like push 5 things at the same time. So there's a lot of buttons on here, and I mostly don't press most of them. I'm mostly controlling it through scripting from Companion. So yeah, headless is just the idea of no buttons, and you would control everything remotely. A great update to the Extreme will be mix minus. I agree completely. I agree completely. All right, what else can I grab in here? In your gear list, you have mirror screen D9 for casting to AirPlay Windows devices, but those have been out of stock. Any other racks for one device do all 3? Darn. Mirror screen has a couple other models in that line, and in the video where I compared a bunch of them, I think we identified a few of them that work. It's been a while since I've looked at those, so I don't have a recommendation right now of a good replacement. Headless should cost less hardware. Yes, technically I agree. I think that the buttons on the ATEM Extreme are not very expensive because it's a single board and then it's rubber button mold, injection mold buttons. So I don't think it's very expensive to make those buttons. The buttons on the big glowy colorful buttons that are like individual mechanical switches, those are expensive, and you can definitely save a ton of money by not having those buttons. But the ATEM Extreme buttons, I don't think those are very expensive, so I don't think it would save much. In the Extreme announcement, Grant mentioned hiding the Extreme and using the remote consoles, right? Because they sell the big fancy consoles with the expensive buttons on them. So I think that's a weird combination, frankly, like the Extreme. I think that whatever they do with the Extreme capabilities in a rack case makes a ton more sense with those fancy consoles. How easy is it to set up a side-by-side live interview with the ATEM Mini Pro with no back channel? If you created a video on how to do this, you need a back channel because the ATEM doesn't really do 2 ways. Probably the easiest way to do it would be not using a back channel, meaning capturing the actual call. And that could be anything. That could be Zoom, Skype in full screen, OBS.Ninja in full screen, or in a pop-out window. And that would be probably the easiest way, where you don't have like a totally separate, you don't have to have your guests have 2 things open. I don't think I have a tutorial about that, but I have been talking about those as I've been bringing in remote guests over the last couple of weeks. So I usually have check out the link for my timestamps. I'll just plug that again. The link to my timestamps, this is going to be recursive now. Link to my timestamps, aaronpk.tv/timestamps. What this does is it shows you the headers of all the timestamps across all of my live streams. So this is last week's, and I think somewhere in here we talked about, did we talk about how we ran that? Yes. So here, for example, how I brought ATEM into the live stream. And if you click that, it'll jump directly to the timestamp of that video where we talked about how we got this to work. So this was OBS.Ninja, but I've done that before, different ways as well. So take a look at that, and hopefully you'll find it. That is that link. Oh, my key is off. Okay. I'm going to scroll back up. Oh, we are already at 45 minutes. I had some other things I wanted to share. Okay, so let me take a pause here and share some other fun news. If I go, I have some photos to share. Let's switch over to my iPad. I have been hearing, let me go and just drop this link in so we get the timestamp in the chat. So this is a very cool new thing. PK1, let's see, aluminum base for Extreme stand. So the that one. This is a new thing that we are selling on the NX3D shop. It is the base, aluminum base for the Extreme stand. The reason is because I've been hearing a lot of people who want to bring their stand out on the road and in the field and use it in places that I didn't really design the stand for. I mentioned this before, but the stand is really meant to be on a desk. It's you know, sturdy for a desk, but it doesn't have a lot of like, you're not going to attach it to a tripod or other rigs. So we wanted people to be able to do that. So we've got now this aluminum base where you bolt the stand onto the base, and then you can attach this base to other things. So you can mount, because it's aluminum extrusion, you can put the little T-nuts in it and attach it to other things, or attach more things to it, or it's just a lot stronger and you can throw it in you know, a case and pull it out, bring it on the road. If you have the clips, I don't know if I have a photo of the clips, but if you have the clips for it, that's something else. Then the clips kind of clamp down and it becomes one sort of thing you can just pick up and set up. So that link is, this is available now. It'll be shipping, I believe, in 2 weeks. So if you are curious, if you've been thinking about bringing this on the road, this is a great way to really strengthen up the stand. So that is, I have too many photos in this album. This is what actually comes in the kit. It is 3 pieces of aluminum extrusion, these 2 little angled brackets for the corners, which are metal, 2 brackets, L brackets, which are 3D printed for attaching to the back of the stand, and then all these little T-nuts for bolting the whole thing together. It's quite a contraption. Comes with full instructions, as always. And that is, yeah, I'm hoping that people enjoy that, because I know a lot of people have been wanting to use it in environments that I did not design the stand for. Let's just put it that way. So that is, yeah, that's an update on that stand. We are still just pushing out, you know, new stuff for this all the time. So it's turning into a whole like ecosystem of stand accessories. It's kind of fun. All right, what else? I wanted to talk about, yes, I want to talk about this. When are you going to do mobile streaming with updated gear? I'm super interested to see you streaming from the outside. It should be amazing to use the YOLO box and the ATEM. So that is a nice segue into some of the new things and workflows I've been testing out, and which is also one of the motivations for me moving more of my graphics into a single browser source. So I'm really curious about setting up, you know, as I'm planning trips now to the outside world, I'm thinking about ways to live stream remotely, still have remote guests, or kind of like remote control my studio is the other way I'm thinking about it, where I'm curious to see the differences between these different kinds of options of the differences between like a full, you got these kind of 3 different tiers, right? You've got like a YOLO box where it is the full, like the full program gets mixed there, and then it can stream directly to your end destination, like YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is. And you can plug in 2 cameras to the YOLO box, or you can plug an ATEM Mini into the YOLO box and get a bunch more power. Very cool. So there's that kind of like standalone, you're out in the field and you're pushing directly to your end platform, distribution platform. There's what I'm doing now, which is the other end. Oh my God. That sound surprises me, but it gets my attention. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. MixerBoy24. Let me know if you have a question, because I don't see the comment there, and I don't know if that is a bug in my code or not. Okay, no, it's not a bug. That is, I just shouldn't be showing the word null, apparently. Thank you. So yeah, you've got the fully remote studio, like the YOLO box. Then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum, which is what I'm doing right now, where it's fully in my studio and it is not at all remote. Like, I'm not going to pick this up and move it. And then the middle ground, which is where I'm starting to explore now, is different gradients of hybrid. It's like a hybrid of local and cloud and remote. So we've got, like, if you imagine my studio here. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Wow, really gets my attention with that sound playing through my own speakers. Starting a survival kit fund for your trips outside. Thank you. Hopefully I don't need it, but I am going to need to buy a lot of brackets, so I appreciate that. So if we look at my desk, I've got, all these inputs, and I'm trying to consolidate all of my graphics into this one. I'm going to move the countdown into there eventually. And that means I've got a lot more of these free for doing other things. And when I bring in remote guests, I usually use one of the inputs, right, where I can remote the guest into that input. What if that remote guest was me? And that's where I'm starting to think now. What if I was a remote guest into my own studio? So I would take a camera out into the field and then push a feed to my studio using any of the different ways we've tried. So streaming bridge is an obvious one. If I have an ATEM Mini Pro, I can stream to my streaming bridge. But I'm also experimenting with other devices that can receive streams of various kinds. We've got I've used the Raspberry Pi RTMP server, which is the one that I did the tutorial video on a while ago. That basically is an RTMP endpoint. And whatever comes over that endpoint, it will full screen HDMI play that back into the studio. So I could stream to that from anything that can do RTMP. There's also various other kinds of hardware devices that support different protocols like SRT. So I'm starting to collect these and see different ways of these working. And that means I need something that for the field that can produce streams. And what I am currently planning on doing is I am going to be in LA in a couple of weeks. And the first time I've been on a plane in over a year, which is so weird to me. Very unusual for me. But I'm trying to put together the least possible amount of gear to bring to be able to do a live stream from there. And I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to do it, but it might be that I remote myself into the studio here, push my video feed, and then VPN in and control my ATEM, meaning I can use, I can get an iPad onto the VPN, and then I can use Companion from an iPad remotely. So I still get all my buttons and the pre-roll graphics. And because my graphics program, I'm splitting the control from the viewing. That's the reason for doing the browser source, where I load a web page on my laptop out in the field, and then I can be telling a remote browser, remote being in my studio, to be displaying different graphics. So I can still have all the same stuff in the show. It just happens that I'm not in my studio. So I think that is, I think that's what I'm going to end up doing for that stream. Then the question is, what camera do I bring? And I'm actually thinking I'm not going to bring an ATEM because I don't want to travel. It's only a 2-day trip, and I don't want to bring a whole case of stuff. I want to bring only a camera. So then, how do I get a camera streaming into my studio with as little gear as possible? And I saw a question in here about that, actually. There was a question about the new Lumix camera. There it is. Any thoughts on live streaming features of the GH5 Mark II? And this is where this starts to get really, really interesting. The GH5 Mark II just announced. I don't have one. They definitely are not sending one to me. I might buy one, but I don't know if I will or not. One of the features it has is built-in streaming, meaning it can stream over RTMP to something. Now, you could go straight to YouTube on it, but that's not going to be that great of it's not going to be a highly produced show, right? Because you'll hit go, and then at some point you'll be live, and you won't really know when because of the it takes a second for YouTube to sync up and you don't actually know, you don't get the feedback really very well. So instead, I would push into my studio. And then I can have my countdown timer. I can see what the ATEM is seeing, and I can get the multi-view back from the ATEM using more tricks. And then that lets me produce the show of adding graphics, adding overlays, all using the same gear I'm doing here. So GH5 Mark II is one option. There's several other options for doing this. GoPros, for example. The GoPro can stream directly, RTMP out to something. And they've got built-in options for like YouTube or whatever, but I would do custom RTMP into my studio. I have the GoPro Hero 7 Black, which has been fine. Again, I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of GoPros for studio work because they aren't really meant for studio work. They are meant for out in the field, which is what I would be doing. Another option is the DJI Pocket 2, which I just bought. And the reason I bought it, I have the version 1 and I like it a lot, but the reason I bought this one is because it also does RTMP streaming. So I can now stream directly from this to RTMP endpoints, including, for example, my server or my studio. So this might become a travel live streaming kit. And they even have a wireless mic option for it, so you can get a lav mic on it. This would push a video feed into my studio, and then I can mix the show from there. There's yet another option, which I've been testing as well. The CineEye 2S Pro, this one they did send to me. And this one, I haven't done a video on it yet, but I will soon. This one is cool because, one, it's got HDMI and SDI in, so you can use it with any kind of camera, and I'm very excited about the SDI part for integrating with my studio here. But this also does RTMP streaming through a mobile phone. So you can connect your phone to this and then use your phone app to push RTMP from any camera. That's very cool. So I could take my Sony ZV-1, I could take Lumix G7, I could take my Lumix GH5S that does not have built-in RTMP and stream from the CineEye 2 any HDMI source into my studio. So yeah, lots of fun options for that kind of hybrid. So that's where I'm thinking of for this. Next thing I'm trying is remote camera with as little gear as possible, preferably just a camera. Like if I can pull it off with just this, I'll be very happy, and still get the same level of production as I do here. DJI drones have RTMP. I don't know what current Oregon regulations are, but it'd be first drone live stream. I'm pretty sure people have done drone live streams before, but it would be fun. I agree. I have no desire to get into the world of licensing around those things. So the only one I would get is the Mini 2. They just released the new model, so I am very, very tempted. That's the only one I would get because it's under the limit for when you need to register it and all that. You still have to follow the rules and stuff, but you don't need to register it. So, or bring your streaming bridge and use it with ZV-1. So the streaming bridge would stay here because it's the receiver, and then I would need an ATEM Mini Pro on the remote end. And I don't really want to bring an ATEM Mini Pro on the trip because it's small, but it's still a chunk. Like it's a lot thicker than a computer. I'm gonna bring my tiny computer, my 12-inch MacBook, which is still chugging along, and I want to bring as little gear as possible. You can set up a Raspberry Pi ahead of time to stream RTMP to the destination and output HDMI from the ZV-1 to the Pi. Yeah, so any kind of RTMP encoder would work for this. I would need a capture card with a Pi as well, so definitely doable. Throw a capture card into the Pi and then plug in HDMI, and then that Pi can be configured to just stream on boot, for example, into the studio. Would definitely work. So yeah, lots of different options. Cameras that have it built in. This thing, which is also really promising because it is, it's a chunk of hardware, does a good job. Or other encoders of some sort, Raspberry Pi, or they make, there are dedicated RTMP encoders also. It's great to see you're spending more time on the technical aspects rather than planning the actual trip. I mean, I'm not going to get into why I'm going to LA, but I'm going to LA for a very particular reason. 2 days, it's one appointment, and it's not a vacation. I want to turn it into something a little bit more fun than basically administrative work. I love my DJI Mini too. Awesome. I was tempted by the Mini when it first launched, and I was just like, I should not get into drones right now. But then thankfully the Mini 2 means I didn't have to buy the Mini 1 and then worry about upgrading. Where do you want to start if you want to VPN to your house from off-site? Is that a special service that allows that? There are services that you can use for it that make it easy. I, however, like to make things hard. No, I'm kidding. So a lot of routers, you can get special VPN supporting routers that have VPN servers built in. I actually find those interfaces are kind of awkward to use, and some of them use the VPN technology that's old and just really clunky to configure on your phone and stuff. I know Photo Joseph actually had good luck with the what's he using? I think he's using the Synology router. And that has a decent UI for configuring that kind of stuff. But the way that I've been doing it, and I did write a blog post about this, the way that I've been doing it is using WireGuard, which is a much nicer, easier way to do, gosh, where is my post about it? Easier way to do a VPN client and server. Oh, right. It's my remote control ATEM interview kit. So it's, let me drop this link in here. So this, back to my computer. This blog post, the idea is, it's actually like basically what I've been talking about here. If you have one camera in the field and you want to, stream it back to your studio. So your remote kit is one camera, an ATEM Mini Pro, and this VPN client. And then in your studio, you have the stream grid to receive the Pro, the VPN server here, and then your actual ATEM for mixing the show. I would be using the Extreme here now, and then the Mini on the remote end. And basically what this does is it goes through the whole step of all of this. What you do is you put this VPN server in your home network, and you can do port forwarding to it from your router. But then this takes over managing all of the VPN. Thanks for the super chat. Good timing. But yeah, this goes through the whole thing with diagrams and everything. And basically it's telling you how to use, this, let me drop this link. These little travel routers, these are fantastic. So the travel router, little GL-iNet travel routers, the reason that I use it in this blog post is because it makes setting up the VPN server super simple. It's basically like got this nice little web page, and you go, please make a server, and then you're done. And it gives you this config that you paste into your clients. And your VPN clients can be other WireGuard or GL-iNet devices if you just want, like, if you want to be able to, just like, you can get your mobile phone onto it. You could do a Wi-Fi hotspot. Thank you for the super chat. Oh my gosh, too many super chats and it broke it. I appreciate it. I have to wait till that one goes away. We found a new bug when there's too many super chats that arrive at the same time. From Philip. Oh no, where's the message? Oh my God, let me get rid of the audio. I can't make the message appear until the confetti goes away. Okay, let's see if that works. Oh no, where is it? There's a problem with this. Okay. Well, okay, Philip says, here's some seed money for your cellular data fund for your future remote live streams with multiple 4K camera feeds. Exactly. Yes, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. I just realized I should probably just go and reset my OBS that'll probably fix it. So let's go and do refresh that, reloads the web page, and now, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I am going to need a lot of data to do all this. I did actually just run out my data plan on the way over here because I was testing something. So thank you for that, because I need to top it up. And Petra says, thanks for the excellent documentation. I appreciate it. And thank you for the super chat. And yeah, the post, yeah, go through all that. The idea is I had to use a Raspberry Pi. I had to use a Raspberry Pi on the remote end in order to be able to get from the studio into the ATEM, which you technically don't need to do if you only need one way pushing. So you could use, what I was saying was you could use another GL iNet router as a VPN client if you only intend on using it as like a hotspot or plugging in an ATEM into it. You don't need it to be a Raspberry Pi on the other end. So long story short, this blog post will get you spun up with a VPN server at home that you can then, gives you a lot of flexibility for different kinds of things in the future. The actual steps of I am out in the field and I want to remote control my studio and you connect my iPad to be able to Companion, etc., etc. I don't have that tutorial written up yet, but I will once I do that work and do that, get that actually working, because that is a lot of fun. So, okay, yes, Patrick is thinking ahead here now. Potentially use multiple cameras, each streaming with RTMP into your studio and switch remotely. I've also been thinking about this. And my thought with the multiple RTMP streams is that there is no way they will be anywhere remotely in sync. RTMP does not have any kind of guarantees on timing. So it would be probably up to a second or two difference in all the cameras. So I would have no way of really switching automatically. So what I'm thinking is I might need to get my little drawing thing again. What I've been researching is what does it take to bring 4 cameras in sync from a remote studio? And again, this is like you're getting a little peek into my head here because I have not done any of this yet. But what I'm thinking is, let's see, camera. This is a camera. That looks like a camera, and a camera. Okay, 4 of them. And then each of these runs. Where am I going to draw this? Let me draw this here. Each of these runs into a 4x1 multi-view. So 4 HDMI cables into here. Multi-viewer would be 4K. So it would take 4 1080s and turn it into a single 4K signal. That would go over RTMP. Now, if we're sending a single 4K video 4 up over RTMP, all of those are in sync, guaranteed, because if they're in sync at the source, it's one video being pushed over RTMP. That would go into a device that is a D-multi, what do you call it? I don't know what it's called. Video wall processor is usually what it is. So you have like a 1x4 to split back out into 4 HDMI. So what this ends up looking like is, get that out of the way. What this ends up looking like is on the source side, you would have a video that looks like this, where you have your 1, 2, 3, and 4 cameras. That's being sent over RTMP. And then on the receiving end, you have to split out each corner back out into a 1080 video feed. So then you can split it back out into your 1, your 2, 3, and your 4. So I'm collecting devices, let's just say that, to make that happen, because I am very curious to see if that works. The way to bring 4 cameras at a remote location and sync with a single RTMP is an ATEM Mini Pro. Yes. And Patrick says, at this point, you need to consider if the ATEM Pro might be worth the hassle. Exactly. So the difference being, I think if I was running a remote show myself, I would probably use the ATEM Mini Pro at that point, because I would be switching cameras at the remote end and pushing the single feed back. But if I had remote people in the field streaming an event and I was running the event, the production from my studio, I might want the isolated video feeds all in my studio to be able to see what everything's doing and do my own cuts from the studio end. So that's the main difference there, is like, which end are you doing the control on? And yeah, I agree that if I was controlling it remotely, then the single ATEM Mini Pro on the remote end would be easier. Could you zoom in on the quadrant of the screen? Yes. However, the ATEM does not process 4K. So I can take a video signal and go larger, make it large, and then position it. So you can do that with the upstream key. You can scale beyond 100%, and I could position I could split it into 4, but it's only starting with a 1080 source. So each of the video feeds would be a quarter of 1080, which is not really acceptable. So that's why I wouldn't want to do that. You would need a pretty good mobile data stream to real-time broadcast 4K. Yeah, I haven't actually checked at what bitrate would look good for that, but it will need a chunk of data. Would that multi-view setup have multiple audio streams? It would not, because it's sending one video feed. It just happens to be 4 images composited. So you would only be able to choose, I guess by default, it would be sending all the audio. I don't know it depends on how the multi-viewer works. If you can choose isolated audio, but it would be one audio stream. You can use Google Remote Desktop to control your PC in the studio as well. Yeah, I think that at that point, you're going to need to be able to poke at other things remotely, but that is a thought. I would have to have my companion buttons, for example, on the computer screen rather than like using a separate device. Oh, here's a question. Why don't you use an MP4 confetti file for OBS? That should be easier. That would work for the confetti specifically. However, this is getting into some more future. This live stream is all just about what Aaron is planning on doing, not what Aaron has polished and given you good tutorials on. The reason that I am using it all in the browser is because I am planning on yet another style of workflow, totally different from what I'm doing here, where you can do essentially cloud-based production, entirely cloud-based. So I actually was testing that on the way over here this morning. I have, and I do have I can show you this. This is interesting. So where's my iPad? So there's a bike ride happening in Portland on Tuesday. The Pedalpalooza month is starting, or summer is starting, and we are doing, it's bike rides every day for fun, and a lot of them are themed, whatever. The kickoff ride is on Tuesday, and it's going to be a 5-mile ride, not fast at all. It's going to be full of people, and I want to live stream it and show people the bike ride in Portland. So I don't want to live stream it on YouTube because I have no reason to live stream bike rides to this channel, and I don't have any other channels to use for it. So instead, I'm streaming it to an OwnCast server on my own website. So if you want to tune in, there's not a good system to get reminded of this, but the live.aaronpk.tv is the link for that. And the idea with this is, I'll show you what this looks like. It's offline right now, but it is a website that supports pushing RTMP to, and then it shows you a live stream. I can actually let me actually push something to it right now so there's something live. I am going to push my multi-view to it because that'll be fun. If I grab I just have to go and set my encoder. I have a separate I have a separate encoder here for this. So what am I doing? I'm pushing to, why did I do it that way? Oh gosh, my config is confusing me. No, I just want to push to, this will be worth it, I promise. I just have to look at my config for the RTMP server, or for the for that website, the live.armpk.tv. What am I doing? Yes, okay. The RTMP 1983. Right, the encoder gets that port, and then it gets the streaming key, which is over here. Sorry, I'm not showing you this because I'm putting in a streaming key, otherwise I would. And we're going to enable RTMP on that, and hopefully it will start showing up. So yeah, OwnCast is pretty cool. I've been enjoying playing with it, and I've got it running on a couple different domains now. I've got one for printer, for example. And is this going to stream? Is this going to start going? 1983 live. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So yeah, if you are watching that webpage, you are seeing the multi-viewer of my ATEM, because I have fed the multi-view out of the ATEM into the encoder. I'm using like I don't even remember what it is. I got some random SDI encoder for RTMP, and it's pushing now directly to this server. Oh my God, there's 27 people here. Hi. There's a chat there as well. Don't use that, please, because I don't have any comments set up on that. But this is where I'm broadcasting the bike ride. So tune in Tuesday, 6 p.m. to this link. I'll be broadcasting the bike ride. But what I wanted to show you was the test I did on this earlier today, this morning. So show my iPad. And yeah, you just get to look at the multi-view of this for the rest of the show, I guess. This is my a video that I did, and I streamed to this morning as a test. So you might notice that it's my normal graphics, but I've got the little clock up there. It's cropped. It's cropped strangely. Why is it cropped strangely? I don't remember, but that's fine. Audio on your other server doesn't seem as good. Good to know. It is doing audio encoding itself, so I should look at the bitrate. But when I actually started the bike ride, oh, okay, I do need to fix the crop. Why is it? I need to go fix my super source because I do not want it to crop. Box 2. Do not crop that, please. There we go. And then I'm going to shrink it so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so that's the video that I was streaming here this morning. And I've got the GoPro. I've got the GoPro camera, and I've got a little speedometer and a little map and a clock in the corner. The clock was wrong because it's UTC. But check it out. It's got a little line drawing my route. It's pretty fun. And this is what I'll be streaming on Tuesday. So I was just testing it out. The way that this setup works is this is my GoPro streaming to Lightstream Studio, new thing I've been testing out, cloud-based production tool. Lightstream Studio then also has a browser source on top of it. So Lightstream Studio is getting an RTMP source, loading a web page, overlaying the two, and then pushing that to my OwnCast server. So none of this gear was involved here. It's only my GoPro, my phone, my web page source, and then Lightstream Studio pushing it to my OwnCast server. And that is the reason that I am moving everything into the browser and not using the rest of, not doing things in OBS that I could otherwise be doing, like you were saying, why not do MP4 confetti? Because I want it to all be in the browser so that I can also do entirely cloud-based workflows. So that's where I'm thinking at right now. That's where I'm at. I'm all over the place today. Yeah. Where are you hosting the live feed server? This is actually in my studio in the closet. So it could be a cloud server anywhere, but it could, yeah, it could be a cloud server. They have instructions for deploying it to even CDNs, but this is just running in my closet because I have a gigabit network connection here, and I don't really mind eating up all that bandwidth. In fact, yeah, all 26 of you who are watching that stream are pulling whatever I'm sending at that 4 megabits a second. My audio is only 125 kilobits, so I should probably up the audio bit rate. That's probably why you're getting worse audio. And then, yeah, what am I even? I don't even know how much bandwidth I'm using now for my outgoing from this studio, where I'm also pushing up my YouTube stream from. So, good times. It says I'm uploading at 80 megabits a second right now, which makes sense. Cool. So that was that. Yeah, hurts my head. Nice set for the bike live stream. Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun. Wondering if using something like Zero Tier would allow for remote streaming and or access to studio resources. Yeah, WireGuard is basically the same idea as Zero Tier. It's all the same sort of VPN style stuff. I tried Zero Tier a while ago, and it was more confusing to me than WireGuard, so I stuck with WireGuard instead. Can the Raspberry Pi RTMP server handle the 4K pretty well? I have not tried it yet. I kind of doubt it. But it will be. I'll be using something else for the receiving that 4K signal when I do that setup. You can also invest in a Constellation at that point and be able to bring in 4K and 8K natively along with multiple super sources. I'm not going to get a Constellation. It is a little bit overkill. I probably will get whatever Rackmount thing they launch next, though. This show has been a great teaser for future live streams. That is the theme of the show. This is what to expect on this channel in the coming weeks and months. Yes. Good times. Side note, I've also been thinking about what would it look like for me to have a membership program, like an actual channel membership. I don't know if I'm going to do it on YouTube though, because I want to do things that I want to give people perks that I couldn't give them if I was using only YouTube membership. One thing that came to mind was I could have a multi-view. I could have my multi-view streamed for members only every show, and you would always be able to see the multi-view of whatever I'm of my show. It'll be out of sync, of course, but it'd be kind of fun, and you just get to look at the multi-view in the background. Do you have a link to that cloud service? Yes, I do. So I should have dropped that in before I talked about it, because now its timestamp will be wrong. The service is called golightstream.com, and it is, they've set me up with a 90-day like full trial, so I have 3 months to play around with this stuff and try it out. It's not terribly expensive though, so I'm testing it out. I have only a few thoughts on it right now, but it's the thing that's letting me do. Do I have that tab open? If I do, I can show you what it looks like on the inside, which is kind of cool. If I'm not logged in, I'm not going to bother. Okay, I am. Great. So here's what it looks like. This is my starting soon screen, and it's my channel art plus a browser source with just the clock. But then if I go over to the main screen, it's 3 layers. There's the GoPro, which is an RTMP stream. So you can copy that link and grab the stream key and push to this, which is very cool. Then there is my browser source, which is this link, which just looks like that. And it's a transparent background, so it gets keyed out properly. And then there is the banner, which I'll show for the event up there. And yeah, that is Lightstream Studio. That's what I'm using it for right now. So we will see. What else I come up with. It supports multiple scenes, like you saw, so I can have multiple different scenes set up, like the loading screen, the actual main screen, like an end. You can bring in video clips. You can do a ton of stuff with it. I'm just scratching the surface of it, but it's yeah, been fun so far. But I'm thinking like that's a good option for a entirely remote cloud-based workflow where you don't have stuff in a studio. And as I'm traveling around now, I don't have a ton of trips set up yet, but I probably will soon. I'm looking forward to testing out all these different kinds of things on different trips. Patreon membership, possibly. That is definitely possible. Can you suggest the best service for hosting live remote video production? I mean, 3 cameras in grid view for all participants with on-set audio and participant chat. Best service for hosting live remote video production. I'm not sure I understand this question. If you want 3 or more cameras where all participants can see it, I mean, possibly Zoom or OBS.Ninja. You can do some cool stuff with that. And yeah. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Yeah, I'm stumped on that question. Sorry. I appreciate the super chat though. Thank you. Okay. We are way over time. What else am I gonna do? Where are we gonna end this? So what is your conclusions with the Web Presenter HD? Is a good match for TV Studio HD? Yeah. So yeah, the Web Presenter, mine is still on its way back. Still trying to figure out. I was having some network problems with it. They weren't able to reproduce it, but I'm gonna try again. It's just the RTMP encoder part of the ATEM Mini Pro, and because of that, because it fits in a rack, I do think it's a really good match for all of their rack mount equipment. And I'm pretty sure that's why they put it into the rack form factor, because whatever they launch with the new rack mount ATEMs is probably not going to have an RTMP encoder in them. Let's talk about projects for 2023 now. No. I know, yeah. I've just given myself a huge long list, a to-do list for this, but we'll see. Right now we use Zoom. Yeah, Zoom is okay, but you don't get the high resolution video feeds really. But check out OBS.Ninja, because that is a good way to get isolated video feeds of your remote guests, and you can do a bunch of cool scene switching stuff. And the last week with Adam and Mix Effect, I talked about how I was using OBS.Ninja, so go take a look at that stream, and you can see how I was using that. Another use for VFA. I'm not sure what that was about. Probably about my 4K multi-view. It would be unfortunate if you had a power cut. It would be unfortunate. That's one of the downsides of using a cloud that is actually in my studio. Okay. Did you sort out the network issues with the Hyperdeck? No, mine is still having the same problem, and I don't know what to do at this point. I don't know if it is something about my network and I should just try like different network switches, or if it's something wrong with the device, in which case I'm not thrilled about having to send it back to Blackmagic because it's out of warranty and I painted it white. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what I do. Okay. What else would I want to show? I don't think we need any more sneak peeks. We've done enough. Okay. So yes, I do want to just throw out one more reminder about the aluminum base for the ATEM Mini Extreme stand. Very, very cool new piece designed for really giving that a lot of extra strength. And because it's aluminum extrusion, you get a lot of options to just mount other things to it if you want to. So you can do a lot of things with that. Link is in the description below. And I think with that, we are just about done. Yeah, Blackmagic should send Aaron a review unit of the Constellation on permanent loan. I would happily take one on permanent loan. Yes. I've set up some Raspberry Pis with dummy Zoom accounts and run them via the web client and pin a different speaker to each one. That's how I get Zoom ISOs. That is a good solution. There's also that iOS app that I've been really curious to try, which is... Oh, thanks for the super chat. I just realized the sound is off. Need to mute my other tab. The other thing I've been trying, or been curious to try out, is that iOS app that is the like isolated Zoom viewer. I don't have a link to it right now. I'll dig it up when I actually do a proper show about that, when I actually try it. I haven't tried it at all, but lots of good options for actually working with Zoom. So, and I think there's gonna be some new stuff coming out too around NDI, if I heard a rumor correctly. Anyway, lots of good stuff, and lots of options there. So stay tuned, because I'm gonna hopefully try a lot of this stuff out, and hopefully bring in some more guests soon. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, you'll see me live from LA, and I'll tell you about what I ended up bringing with me on that trip and how I am running that show. I'll definitely like post it on my channel. Also make sure you're subscribed to my email list, because you get an email 30 minutes before I go live, and because YouTube's notifications are not reliable. And then I'll post the live stream on the channel. You'll get an email, and it'll probably be a short one, just enough to like demo what I ended up doing for that show. It'll be fun, and definitely, yeah, you don't want to miss it, because you never know what could go wrong, and it's always fun when stuff does go wrong, because then you get to learn things about how to recover from those problems. Speaking of which, I need to go fix my figure out what went wrong with my chat for reals and go fix it, because that was a bit of a panic this morning when I started the show, realizing that the chat and the map wasn't working. I think the map will be working now if I had it up. So hopefully it works again next week. And yeah. Oh, will you send an email about the bike ride? That's a good idea. I will do that. I'll send that one out manually, because it's not going to go through my automated YouTube scripts. But if you go to aaronpk.tv and scroll down to the bottom, there is a newsletter sign up. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Sign up here, and that will get you on my mailing list. And then before the bike ride, I will make sure I send out an email with a link to the live stream. And that is going to be, I'm not going to be talking, I'm not going to be answering questions. I'm going to be literally on my bike. It will be just the bike ride, but you'll get to see a fun view of Portland and how many bikes we have here in the summer, which is a lot of fun. Okay, we missed the map. I will fix the map. I will get it working. I was trying so many new things this week that I guess I'm gonna go figure it out. I will get the map working. Okay, thank you all for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. I hope it's been fun, and I hope you've got some new ideas about ways to think about hybrid productions. If you do want to chat about this in the future, leave comments below. Join me next week. Join me on future live streams. I'm also on John Barker's Here to Record Discord, so feel free to jump in there and chat. And I will see you all again in a week, I guess, and see some of you on Tuesday when I am streaming a GoPro from the back of my bike. And yeah, thanks for the super chat, Graham. I appreciate it. And with that, I will leave you all to the rest of your day. Thanks.